Being in marketing and sales, how many of you would love it if you knew exactly what message to use that your prospects would resonate with? Today, I am so excited about my guest, Usman Sheikh. Usman is going to tell us exactly how we can create messages that our audience are going to say, oh my gosh, they're speaking directly to me. And you're going to see amazing results. But before we get started, my name is Donna Peterson, and you are listening to the B2B Marketing Excellence podcast. I go all over the world speaking with business owners and marketing directors about what is working, what's not, so hopefully we can all save time and money, achieve our goals, and reach success. So let's jump in. Good morning, Usman. How are you today?
Good morning, Donna. Good to be here. I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
Oh, good. I'm really excited to have you because I talk to my audience all the time about relationship building. And you and I both know the only way to build a good relationship is by truly knowing and understanding your audience. And that's
Absolutely correct.
And I was wondering, how important is it for B2B brands to concentrate on relationship building?
Yeah, great question. So it's very, very important. At the end of the day, Donna, we sell to people. Even though the number of decision makers in a B2B sales cycle has increased. In the good old days, it was like 4 or 5 people. Now it's between 12 to 16 different individuals. And as you can imagine, these are end users that you're trying to please. These are people in procurement. These are people in legal. Increasingly, the IT folks have come in to talk about security and compatibility with other platforms that you may be using. This is your chief financial officers group, that wants to make sure that a business case is in line. And then there are multiple decision makers that are representing different aspects of what they want to buy. So the number of people have grown. And at the end of the day, as the old sales saying goes, people buy from people they trust and like.
Yes.
And so it's very much about relationships. These are long sales cycles.
Yeah.
People are taking, especially in B2B, the size of a deal is pretty substantial.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, they're risking a lot. They're putting a lot of eggs in the basket by kind of selecting a particular vendor. And it is increasingly very important for them to be extremely comfortable with the person and the company they're buying from. So that interpersonal relationship between individuals, how you can create the comfort level, how you can build that trust level and become that trusted advisor is supremely important, right? And now not only do you have to do it with one person, think about being able to replicate that across 12 to 16 individuals in that buying cycle. So number one, relationships are super, super important. They still stay extremely important. And two, it's become a little bit more complex because now we are having to convince not 1 or 2 or 3 people, but 12 to 16 people in the cycle.
Yeah. And you have to speak to these individuals differently because we all take in information in a different fashion. And that's what is really made, sales and marketing tricky, really, because it's not, remember years ago, we would send these one big massive promotions and everyone would buy and everyone was happy. But now it's too competitive out there. So you have to make sure you're talking to them directly.
Yeah. And, look, let's face it, in my quote unquote civilian life, right, when I'm just doing things on a normal basis, I get a lot of personalization, right? I am, when I order my pizza, when I go into a store, when I'm on an online store, when I'm selecting movies I want to watch, people are catering to my previous tendencies, my personality traits. They're catering to my preferences, my likes and dislikes. All the choice with which amongst which I have to select is already pretty much 60-70% there. And I'm being kind of filtered and kind of being provided a set of recommendations that are very personal to me.
Yeah.
Now, I expect that same degree of personalization in my professional life as well, in my B2B life. I want, and there's plenty of reasons today for sellers to be able to personalize. I have a lot of digital breadcrumbs on my LinkedIn, for example. I am on all the social media networks, and most of us are almost, over 1 billion people are using, and all of them are professionally using social networks and social media to get the message out. And these are all great digital breadcrumbs for companies to pick on to be able to hone in and customize their message.
Yes.
So somebody calls me up, and I'm sure you've received those kind of calls. Are you the right person for this, right? Or did you see my message? Or will you be this, right? It really, really is annoying now, because the answers to all those very, very basic questions are already out there. As a matter of fact, not just the answers to the basic questions, my professional preferences, my likes, my dislikes, how I communicate. I'm on podcasts, I'm on videos. A lot of people are on videos today, courtesy of TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. People are getting their message out by video. So you can actually experience the person you're going to sell to before you ever meet them. And in there lies the fact that, when I see, or when we see a degree of this casual one-size-fit-all behavior, it's now becoming counterproductive. It's becoming annoying, right?
Yes.
And in that overcrowded digital marketplace that you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Those are that's my currency to stand out and distinguish from others.
Yeah.
And if I'm just going and asking the same old, what have I done? How do I stand out in a crowded marketplace?
It's very hard. And I think when you're doing that, all you're doing is crowding up the marketplace. You're not going to stand out. And like you said, when you do those videos or podcasts, people watch them. And I strongly feel they get a sense of, okay, that is someone I could work with. With me, they might hear me and they say, well, she's a little quirky. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can work with her. Or someone really serious might say, oh no, I can't. But they get a feel for you. They get an understanding of maybe your work ethic or your beliefs or how you're going to handle their business, which helps with building that bond in the relationship, but instilling trust. But here's a tricky question for you. What do you think about legacy brands? Because I have a lot of legacy brands I work with, and some of them are like, oh no, Donna, we've been around for 70 years. We don't need to do all this building relationship thing. They already know who we are. Do you think legacy brands need to concentrate on building relationships?
Absolutely, for numerous reasons. Number one, since the pandemic, we've had the great resignation, so to speak,
that's right.
And 40% of people that were selling for our companies, the seller side, has moved on, and 40% on the buyer side have moved on. So new people have come in, and there's new requirements. Secondly, as the world moves into more of a SaaS kind of sales environment, and even retail has moved to SaaS. We've got online brands now where we can go buy clothes, we can buy books, we can buy videos, we can do on demand. So all those legacy things that were being done in the past have now a new shelf life. And competitors are coming in with new business models, new way of servicing you. So it's increasingly important to continue to build that mind share with your prospects, and just relying on how good you were yesterday. We all know the story about Blockbuster. Blockbuster had the opportunity of buying Netflix, believe it or not, right? And they forego. They said, no, we like the retail stores. We like this VCR and DVD abilities. And where are they now? They're nowhere to be seen. So I don't think it's a very comfortable position for legacy. Look at the bookstores, the famous bookstores. They're no longer there, right? Retail stores, no longer there. Increasingly so. So new business models are coming, new delivery models are coming, and I think legacy brands have to work equally hard at being able to maintain their quality of their product and their distinction, but also, very importantly, especially in B2B, the relationship, because we've got so many new people now in the equation,
Yeah.
a new set of requirements that have come. So you cannot sit comfortably on your laurels from yesterday. You've got to do new things and continue to build those relationships.
And I agree. I was listening to everything you said, and that's a good point that with COVID, we've lost the sellers and the buyers that might have been here who really knew who the legacy brands are. Now we have new people. Maybe they don't know who the original companies were. I know with ourselves, we work with a lot of business publishers, and they've changed names, or they've been bought out, or maybe they've compressed titles into one. And that type of history helps our clients in figuring out where to promote themselves. But if you don't know that information, you got to make sure you're promoting it out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, there's competition. People are just disrupting left, right, and center. They're coming up with new products, new value propositions, new
Yeah.
delivery cycles. And all of those factors you have to counterbalance, and then a lot of the competitors are doing a much better job. So look at our profession, the B2B sales and marketing industry, right?
Yeah.
Today, on average, a salesperson is spending less than 28% of their time selling or in sales related activity. That means 72% of their time is being spent on what? Doing admin and learning some of these legacy systems, this fragmented tech space that's out there. I have to learn a CRM system. I have to learn a contact database. I have to learn about marketing automation. I have to learn about, dashboards and how to figure out how to analyze my customers. I have to wear a data science hat to understand what's happening in the marketplace. I have to wear a seller's hat to be able to communicate my value proposition. I have to wear a product manager's hat to be able to articulate the benefits of my solution and my product. And so a lot of things are changing. And in that changing environment, it is very, very important that, we have, the disruption in our technology is that we're consolidating these brands, these different fragmented solutions that were required. They're coming together into one platform or into fewer platforms. And that is the essence. We're trying to free up the time of sellers. So I know I have large clients where the salespeople are spending less than 22%. And they have now a stated goal of trying to take the salesperson's time so they can spend more time with customers.
Sales,
20, 28, 30%, right?
Yeah.
So that's now a stated goal, whereas you would intuitively never think, hey, salespeople, that's all they should be doing. They should be prospecting. They should be talking to customers. They're not.
Oh,
right?
no, not
because there's so many.
Yeah, not with all the technology that's coming out, and especially now with AI. You're going to talk to us about your platform, but when ChatGPT was announced to everyone in November of 2022, I think that changed everything, and people got catapulted into a whole new area they weren't even thinking about. So you're right, the salespeople, and yes, I was working before we had the computers, but then you had the computers, and you're right, you had that training of how do we use the computers? How do we use these sales platforms? How do we connect all our teams together so that we can be heading on one straight road to achieving our goals? So now this can bring right into your platform. Now, I know you are the CEO of XIQ, which everyone can see from your background right there. But how does XIQ do a combination between generative AI and also that psychology that transforms like B2B sales and marketing? What are the benefits and how can we use it?
Yeah, so again, great question. If we go back to traditional selling and building on those relationships, you put 10 people in a room and you're going to have 10 different opinions.
Yes.
And they're all going to be based on my personal experiences. About 100 years ago, famous Harvard psychologist, Dr. William Marston, also a guy who, kind of created Wonder Woman, the comic character. William Marston came up with, was working in behavioral science, behavioral psychology, and he formulated a set of tests. The ones that we use are known as DISC, dominant, influencing, steady, and conscientious. But people have commonly heard of Myers-Briggs and other kind of tests, right?
Yeah.
So behavioral science came in and they started looking at what were some of the tendencies people had, and through a question and answer sort of test, they were able to determine what kind of personality type you have and what are your particular preferences in communication, and in how you like to work together with others. What is your behavior going to be like? Now, what this does, this is the behavioral science. What this does is it allows everybody to be able to get on the same page,
Yeah.
right? So instead of having 10 opinions, we can tap into behavioral science and with a very high degree of accuracy, get an opinion that is unbiased and can that you're going to be prospectively selling to. So what we did at XIQ was we could not administer the test, right? Because you're not going to go out there and everybody you meet say, hey, before you talk to me, can you please take a test?
No.
But life has changed, and we've got a lot of out there, right? So what we did is we used AI to analyze all these, because at the end of this are based on how people are responding to certain words that are embedded in the questions and answers in those tests, right? So there are words, there are little descriptions that are embedded within how you take one of those Myers-Briggs or tests, and we respond to those words. Well, guess what? Today, we abundantly leave these words out there on our LinkedIn, in our tweets, when we blog, when we speak. We're very subconsciously using these words. XIQ picks on those words, analyzes them, and is able to predict what this person's personality is, and therefore what would be their preferences and how you communicate. Should this be a 3 bullet point communication? Should this be long form, anecdotal? Should there be a lot of data furnished with this? These kind of things make a big difference. And so we've combined the two together, and we've created a platform around that where we help the seller touch a buyer, or buyers rather, at different stages of the buying cycle, very specifically in a manner that would appeal to your prospective buyer. And that's what starts bringing about the change. One is the ability for me to get heard because I'm speaking in a language and in a style that you like to be spoken to, or you like to listen to, and that you understand. So that's a big difference. I'm kind of breaking through that communication barrier on the one hand. And on the other hand, I'm starting to embed and infuse in their value propositions that are specifically driving your personal goals, right? What is going to motivate you, not as a professional, but as an individual, not ever forgetting that you're an individual with your own personal preferences, and then you're a professional who has to do certain things. So how can I get that? And therein lies XIQ's distinction of being able to help our users stand out in that extremely crowded digital market.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is interesting, because I do talk to my clients, and this is on a broader scale, but we'll segment their databases and we'll say CEOs here, CFOs here, engineers here, and we'll send them different messages that'll resonate with them. But it sounds like you now go even deeper, because yes, we're looking at the titles, but you'll go in and say, okay, CEOs, Donna Peterson, but here's her personality, and this is how she likes to get information. And I can see how that would make all your messaging more responsive, and you'd probably see a larger conversion rate using that.
Oh, absolutely correct. I mean, not all CEOs can be painted red or green or blue. They've got a lot of different shades of gray in there. And
well, because we're all human. We're all human.
We're all
and
human.
Each one of us is different. Yeah.
We have different fingerprints, just to kind of say a thing. And it's good. I think that diversity is very important. And somebody that recognizes my diversity and talks to me
Yes.
definitely gets my attention. Now, it can go slightly wrong. I'll give you a little funny story. One of the sales guys had done a lot of research and found out I went to University of Michigan, and they contacted me and they did a page of Ohio State. So anybody that knows University of Michigan and Ohio, these are really, I think this is the biggest college football rivalry in the world, and kind of appealed to me. Now, it was on the one hand a little, it kind of irked me a little bit that somebody was pointing out Ohio State, but on the other hand, I applauded the effort that this person had put in to be able to go and find that. And that helped me. Even today, this happened about 10 years ago. I can still remember that this incident happened and helped them stand out from a crowd, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what it showed distinctly was that this person had invested a little bit of time in getting to know me, right?
Yes.
And that's really what all salespeople need to start doing is, instead of putting them into the CEO bucket or the CM bucket, we need to figure out, like, who are these people as individuals and talk to them as individuals, not as blocks.
Yep.
Right.
When I talk to clients about getting LinkedIn connections, I always talk about, let's not do the general LinkedIn connections. Look through their bio, find something, either something they posted about, what college they went to, some kind of commonality. Like for me, I think I have that. I love downhill skiing. And so when people come in and they start talking about downhill skiing, oh, well, I stop because I love hearing about that topic. Or if they went to Connecticut College, that's a big thing. And I've reached out to other alums just to say, I went to Connecticut College and we have connected. And it's a common bond, but it gets your message noticed. And then you start to communicate and network together. But now you're going to help us do this on a larger scale than the one-off.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. There's a lot of personality traits as well, right? So I like to give the example of our good friends from Star Trek, Captain Kirk and Dr. Spock, right? So Kirk,
I always think of the robot.
There you go. So Kirk is the captain of the Starship Enterprise, and he has to make big life and death decisions in snap seconds. Kirk, by the nature of his job and his personality, is not somebody that's going to be consuming reams of data to reach analysis, conduct analysis and reach conclusions. Spock. So in order for us to communicate to Kirk, we have to give him the 3 bullet point version, and it has to have been well researched, qualified, and made sure that this is absolutely the best 3 options that he has.
Yeah.
Spock, on the other hand, is the person that will love to collect a lot of data, can analyze it extremely fast. He's the proverbial quant in that equation, and would love to be able to get through this information. Now imagine if we were to take all that data that we would feed Spock and send it Kirk's way, and then take Kirk's 3 bullet point and send it to Spock's way, we're basically going to have a dysfunctional set of relationships, because Kirk is going to shut us down. Hey, I don't have time. And did you not know that I am not the person and I do not have the time to analyze this information? Right. Spock, on the other hand, would laugh you out of the room because don't you know who I am and that I like to analyze lots of data before I reach conclusions? Yeah. Salespeople do this day in and day out. They get this wrong all the time. Right. And our tool, for example, helps you. That's just the kind of a analogy in terms of how our tool can say, don't spare for a sales call. And we've got this guy called Gilroy. And Gilroy is the Alexa of the B2B world. So whereas, the paradigm is in Alexa, hey, Alexa, play me this song from this genre. And Alexa automatically starts filling the room with all the best music that you wanted to get. Gilroy can do the same. And by doing so, Gilroy, do a SWOT analysis on company XYZ. Tell me what are their biggest pain points. Identify who are the prospective individuals that are going to be making decisions in this. And then find out what are icebreakers that I could use to get there, right? So we can start having those conversations. And
And
Gilroy,
that saves them a lot of time. Has to save
that puts that
hours and days. I
tons of
would even say days of work and compiling all that information. And that's only one company, let alone you're going to do a whole series of companies. Yes.
And Donna, not only that, think about it that, if it's going to take me days,
Yeah.
and I'm living in the ADD, attention deficit disorder era, I'm not going to have my concentration and, attention span for days to do it.
Yes.
Secondly, if I'm going into a fragmented landscape and I'm trying to look for information, guess what? What was happening? I would go look at annual reports. I'd go to websites. I'd go to Google. I'd go somewhere else. I'd end up buying sneakers and I would have zero information on my client because I get diverted somewhere else, right?
But you'd have nice sneakers.
I have a lot of great sneakers now.
No, I know true. Exactly what you're saying.
That's that side of it.
See, there's a positive. But no, I understand what you're saying, because not all the information is in a uniform set place. So you have to do a lot of searching to pull all those particular pieces together. And then you have to try to create a message. Like you said, if you can help with an icebreaker that would be appropriate for these people, sometimes that's where people get stuck. Like they gather all the information, but now they're like, oh, how do I even start to penetrate this barrier to get in there so that they pay attention to my, message?
Fully agree. And again, that's just one person, one company, and you've got to do it across now 16 people and multiple companies. And you don't have the, as you're saying, the time savings is substantial. But also think about it this way, that since it takes so much time and also some skills and expertise, if I'm going to, as a good salesperson, I should know my SWOT analysis.
Yeah.
How many salespeople have the time or the know-how of how to generate SWOT analysis?
Yeah.
It's almost close to zero. It's almost close to zero. Right?
Well, because they probably have so many requirements put on them, make this many sales calls, do this many inbounds, get these emails out, do this, they're like, I don't have time to do this research, because companies also aren't allocating the right amount of time for the appropriate research.
Right. Exactly right. And, and if you think about it, my company, for example, for a salesperson to meet their annual quota, it's about 10 to 18 deals. That's very, very doable. 10 to 12 deals are very, very doable in the course of a year. Very doable. And so do we really need to generate 6,000 emails? Do we really need to contact 500 companies to do that? Yes. Or can we just be very focused, laser sharp focused, take a smaller set of companies, target a fewer set of individuals, and really write quality stuff, put quality in front of quantity, and really win their hearts and minds and bring them over, and invest the time in explaining to 30 to 50 prospects, and then have a higher conversion rate, right? So these Gilroy assisted sales cycles, for example, the emails, because the subject line is now, which is the first thing that gets me to click and open that email, is catering to you. It's catering to your persona. It's catering to your personality type. It's catering to your communication style. The words. So
people are going to open it more. You see a subject line that resonates with you, or about a topic that is top of mind, you are going to open it.
And about 37+% higher open rates. Yeah. Then the content that's written in there has about a 48% higher click-through rate. And we are seeing between 10 to 12x, I know that sounds huge, the amount of meetings that are getting booked. 10 to 12 times more meetings being booked while we're reaching a smaller prospective audience.
Yeah, but now what you're doing is, because you're creating such detailed messaging, and I always tell clients to take the time, because you save your sales team like 5 steps, because instead of sending big, broad things, you've now whittled it down to doing this thing. So instead of going to 10,000, maybe you're only going to 2,000, but these are their sweet spot people. They're seriously interested in what you have to offer. So I could see that rate. I can see how maybe some CEOs would be like, no, that's not possible. But when you can talk to people directly the way they want to be spoken to, there we go, spoken to about something that is top of mind, they're going to respond.
Absolutely correct. McKinsey just published their report on generative AI, the impact of generative AI on business.
Mm-hmm.
And Donna, they said it's going to be a $1.4 trillion annually in sales and marketing productivity gains. Yeah. And you know, when you think about it, that my sales guys, not my sales guys, but sales guys in general in large enterprises are spending less than 28% of the time.
Yeah.
How are we going to get to that 1.4 trillion? Well, this is how you get to 1.4 trillion.
Yeah.
Reduce the complexity of their landscape. Help them give them the tools that can augment their skills.
Yeah.
So they can use these skills that the tools are now providing to do better ideal customer profiling.
Yeah.
To be able to write much more targeted emails. To be able to qualify the individuals in a much higher manner. And that's how you start getting to 1.4 trillion. Yep. And generative AI, because it can consume so much data, and there is so much data in the sales process today. There's so much data. There's data about your company, about your competitors, about the individuals, about which schools they went to. There are so many different, the financials are out there. There's so much data that's out there today that if we are not leveraging it, then we are almost, mute, not speaking at all to anybody, because we're just going and creating a humming sound instead of really saying something.
Those are the companies I strongly feel will be left behind if they don't start. And I know some people are just starting to get their feet wet looking at ChatGPT, but now is the time for companies to start evaluating AI tools. How can they implement it in their companies? And what you just said is exactly what I tell people when they say, oh, well, we're going to lose our jobs because of generative AI. And I'm like, no, it is going to escalate your job to the next level. So like you were just saying, for the salespeople, it's going to free them up to do sales, to do what they're, we all have our attributes of what we're good at. Well, free the salespeople up to do the attributes, not to be a tech person or not to be a writer, do your sales.
Exactly right. I mean, and that's really a big distinction. And I would say sales leaders listening to this podcast, that's what people have to realize, that, sellers are good at one thing and they're good at sales. That's why we hire them. They're not researchers.
No,
they're not writers, and they're not the guys who are going to be doing analysis on SWOT and so on. What they're going to be good at is building relationships, understanding. And for building relationships, there are tools out there such as ours that can help you augment your natural instincts with quantifiable data at a company level, at an individual level, and even write it out for you. Kind of build the full strategy from strategy to execution in less than 10 minutes. That's entirely possible today. And, you've got to start. A lot of salespeople are stressed out. It's a position that has become extremely stressful. We've got to remove that stress out of that equation.
Well, if you are doing just general promotions, your marketing team is being very general and broad. I can understand being stressed because you must be told no a lot. That's if you get your emails even opened or your telephone calls, answered. Half the time it's probably just redundant. You're just doing it over and over. But if you can pinpoint it and start to create those subject lines that resonate with people, then they'll open it up. You'll be able to book those meetings and you'll be able to get them to hopefully go to the next level and then convert to be buyers.
Absolutely. And better qualification. Who are we targeting? Let's not just put everybody in the same in the
Bucket.
same box and
Yeah.
send them the same message. That's just not going to work. It
Yeah.
doesn't work.
I think when COVID hit, that really helped the B2B space go more from being quantity to quality, because there were so many people, and you and I talked about this before, so many people went digital that companies had to try to stand out. And the best way to stand out is to fine tune your audience down to, like I said before, not 10,000, but to that specific 2,000. And now give them everything that they possibly need. Like I always say, show them the love, show them that you understand them, show them that this is really going to help them, and educate them versus just buy now, buy. If you educate, they'll say, wow, they've put a lot of effort into this and they truly understand my industry.
Yeah, that education part, I fully agree with. I cannot support that more. I think that's so important, and it is so lost today in the whole dimension of sale. And it's so important in B2B selling, because today the buyer is spending much more time online doing their independent research.
Yes.
So if you have to really get mind share, you've got to get into that stage where you're now part of those thought leaders, part of those educationalists, so to speak, who are spending time in getting out and getting people to understand what the market is all about. And if you're not there up front, early on in the funnel, even before they've entered your funnel, if you're not out there, and you can get out there, you have social media, you can post really good quality articles. You can now, do hybrids of syndicated third-party content that you can put out there and start creating education. We have clients, Donna, that are using what we refer to as the XIQ workbench. And this is a tool that curates news from third-party sources on just about any topic. And let's say we're targeting the banking industry with AI and the role of what the next generation AI-based teller is going to be like, right? The bank teller, or we will bank teller, automated banking over here. And educating our prospects on what AI has capabilities of doing gets people to, and especially if my name is associated, I've just collected 5-6 articles and then I'm sending it to you without the pretense, hey, Donna, you got to buy from me now, click here. I'm just sending it to you. I think, Donna, this would be really useful. You could help, get a better understanding. Guess what? When you get to that stage of making that decision, who are you going to call? You're going to call me, because you're going to say, this guy is always writing about the intersection of banking and AI. And let me talk to him. And, I'm always getting this without being sold to.
Yes.
And that's how you build that recurring pipeline, right? It's not by just going and hitting them one time and then disappearing. It's got to be a consistent investment. And today, tools like the XIQ Workbench, for example, can really make it easy for people to be able to generate these high quality digests, we call them. They're like newsletters, right? Send them out to people, and subscribers go up because people will then forward it. Donna will send it to Jane. Hey, Jane, this is quite nice. This might be something that could apply to you. And then Jane is going to start subscribing to my little newsletter. And now I have, on that education basis, I'm raising awareness on topics that are critical to what I'm trying to sell eventually.
Yes.
And I'm getting new leads as a result of this, right?
And I think if more companies could take on that attitude, it would be good for the whole of sales and marketing industries. Because I do go into some companies and I'll hear marketing doesn't work. And I'm like, well, that's right. Marketing doesn't work unless it's done properly, but you got to stop with the generic bombarding a large group of people, and you've got to bring it down. And you give, like you said, that thought leadership. One, they get to see that you truly understand their space. But when you start forwarding them this information without hitting them with the sale, they say they get that care. You actually care about them. And then when you get into those companies like that, those are the companies that will stay with you year after year, because it's no longer a price point or you're offering the best offer or 50% off. It's more because your knowledge and because you truly care.
Yeah, absolutely. A big factor in buyers making selections is what happens post sales. Are
Yeah.
you going to be there? And how does, what is the rate of innovation, the velocity of innovation that you're going to bring to them?
Yeah.
Because no, it's not a static, one hit wonder kind of a world where
No.
we come in. It's a consistently ongoing, and especially now, the rate of change. Donna, the rate of change with which we can introduce innovation in the market is so much faster. Look at, just I'll take the most commonly known example of GPT. XIQ, for example, was doing generative AI way back in 2018. We were collecting this data. We were able to predict the personality type or generate the personality type way back then. ChatGPT came along, and then suddenly it set the whole world on fire, and every single even kid knows what ChatGPT is and how to use it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's become the point I'm saying is that the adoption of these kind of AI-based tools has become really, really fast and rapid.
Oh,
And
yes.
the rate of innovation with what we can do with these tools is going to be extremely fast. So now when there's a vendor that has to be selected, the rate at which they can innovate and the innovation they can bring to market is equally important to what your product can do today,
Yeah.
right? How can it grow with my needs and what's happening in the market is an equally big factor as to what can your product do for me today.
Yeah. Wow. We've hit on some great topics. I know my head is spinning with different ideas and more questions, but I don't want to overload our audience today. But I want to thank you so much for your time. But I wanted to ask you, do you have a demo of the platform that maybe we could attach in the comments?
Yes, we do. And my team is providing that for you later on today. So yes, absolutely. We do have a demo. Your listeners can come to XIQINC, XIQ Inc., XIQINC.com. XIQ has a LinkedIn page. We're on Instagram now. We're on TikTok. And just recently I returned from University of Wisconsin, where we trained about 150 future sellers from United States, from Illinois, from Wisconsin, from Michigan, from Indiana, but also from Netherlands and Germany. So the movement is spreading out very, very fast. And the key message I'd like to leave to your audience is get educated, as Donna is saying.
Yes.
I think that's super important. World has changed, and it's really important that you get your head around this animal called AI, because I think it's a real big game changer, and it's not going to take your job away.
Yes, I agree. And I try to push to companies that now is the time to be researching, so that hopefully when you say Happy New Year, you are set to go for 2024. And it'll just help you really get above your competition and grow faster.
Yeah.
All right.
And thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you very much. It was great talking with you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the B2B Marketing Excellence podcast. Please hit the subscribe button below so you don't miss our next episode. And in the meantime, if you'd like to talk to me, please feel free to send me an email to dpeterson@worldinnovators.com. Till next time, have a great day.